Hi everyone, welcome to The Tea with My Bookshelf. Today's guest is author Osman Haneef. His debut novel, The Verdict, provided a much-needed sense of relief during peak lockdown days. I mean, who doesn't love a thrilling courtroom drama, right? So on that note, let's have some tea with him. Hi, Osman.
Hi.
Thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So let's start from the beginning because I'm assuming the love for literature started early on or the seeds were planted early on. So tell us a bit about your childhood and your university years.
So you're absolutely right. My love for learning basically started when I was very young. I think arguably before, or reading rather, not even, and writing. Even before I could write, I would draw sort of comic books with bubbles with made-up languages because, and I would sort of narrate them to people. A big turning point, I think, in my writing journey was at university. I remember I was having a tutorial and I was reading this essay to my tutor, and he was just, it was an ethical philosophy, moral ethical philosophy. And as I was reading it, I was going through one argument, the other argument, and I thought I heard him snoring, and then I looked at him and he was completely passed out.
That's not good.
No, that's never a good sign. So, I wasn't sure if I should continue reading or do I just get up and leave. So I'd cough, and he'd look up, whatever, and then he'd carry on, and then I'd read, and then, so it was the most awkward session there is. And he said, this isn't that important. This hasn't moved me or doesn't mean anything. What is it that you can do that's special about your voice? What can you bring to this that other people can't? All that positive feedback gave me a sense of that, this is something that I can do. This is where my voice can actually sort of make a difference or have an impact.
So right off the bat, like right out of college, you decided that you want to be a writer, or did you have another day job?
No. I'm still not sure. I believe that I can make writing work as the only thing I do.
Okay.
Bernardine Evaristo famously, I don't know if this is what we talked about last time as well, but she famously said that, not until she won the Booker Prize at the age of 60 has she been able to just live off her writing alone.
Wow.
So
that is so sad.
Right.
Tragedy.
So I do want to manage my own expectations in some sense. But I also think that doing other things enriches your writing as well.
For sure.
I think otherwise you probably end up becoming a writer who talks a lot about the process of writing.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Because your characters and the conflicts they end up encountering are a lot of, trying to write that draft or whatever it is. But I don't think it's, so I was a consultant for a while. I was a tech entrepreneur. I did, various things. I worked at the World Bank for a bit. I was an advisor at the UN. I did a small cameo in a TV show that I think is blown out of proportion.
Wow,
all my promotional material.
That's pretty cool.
And I will never talk about it beyond
Why?
that. No.
No, you should talk about that.
If you saw it, you understand why.
Now I'm going to go Google it.
You won't find it. You won't find it. We've destroyed all copies online. But I did lots of different things, but I think a lot of it was, but writing was always something that I sort of...
In the back burner.
Yeah. And people ask me how long it took me to write The Verdict. And the honest answer is, I don't know. Because I would write for a while and then I wouldn't write for months because we had a major project or I was, life got in the way. And the version that I started is very different from the version that it ended up being.
Yes,
chapters would be written.
Yeah.
And, I had this professor who always said that, the problem with young writers is they change faster than they can write the book. And I think that's absolutely true. It's just that it's, I was changing so rapidly and I was writing so slowly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'd be like, oh, well, I don't believe any of this
what's
anymore.
happening?
This doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense.
Yeah.
So I had to like keep starting over again.
Yeah. That must have been frustrating.
Very frustrating.
Yeah.
I would not encourage it. I think there is an element of, especially when you're a debut author, you're like, oh, this is my one chance. This is what I'm gonna say to
Absolutely.
the world, kind of. And I think you need a bit of perhaps maturity to realize that hopefully this is not the one and only
Of course.
opportunity. And actually, you don't need to say everything. You need to say one thing you
Yeah, but
particularly care
I think
about.
that urgency to do that is
Right.
quite overwhelming.
Yeah, exactly. Because you don't know what's going to happen.
So your book, The Verdict, okay, it was such a great book. And I mean, it touched upon such kind of important issues in our society, in our culture, in our country. And we even did that for book club earlier
I
in
saw that.
2020, and you zoomed in to our members, which is really cool. Please tell us a bit about the inspiration behind it and why you wrote it.
Yeah, so the inspiration behind it actually comes from a case that Asma Jahangir defended many years ago, where a Christian boy was accused of committing an unacceptable crime that's punishable by death for writing something on a mosque wall. And that was the inspiration for it. And the plot is basically, as you know, about a lawyer who defends a Christian boy of a similar crime, of having written something that again is punishable by death. But really, the novel is about the sort of broader role of religion in society and about the importance of tolerance in our society. And given what we see now with the divisiveness in the world, but also especially in Pakistan, I feel like we don't have the same sort of tolerance for each other as we've had in the past. I feel like there's an emergence of extremism, of all kinds, and it frightens me. And I'm sure it frightens many people, regardless of where you are in the political spectrum, what you believe in. And I think in many ways this book was an attempt to discuss that, explore that, have the re-engage that, but also reclaim some of the ground, right? Not sort of give that public space or that the area for debate to those radical voices, but say, this is sort of what we're all fighting for. Okay, and
like speaking about how many times you've kind of edited and like rewrote this book, you initially published in India, yeah, and then you published. I mean, a year before you published in Pakistan.
That's right. It was April 2020 that I think the publication date was in India.
Okay,
and so.
But
about
Indian,
a year,
I mean, we don't get Indian books anymore.
Right, exactly.
So, and that's the reason why you needed to then publish in Pakistan.
So, I mean, I'm sure as many of your guests have said, the book ban.
Yes, the book ban, yeah.
And I mean, that also sort of made, the publishers themselves sort of got a bit nervous about publishing the book in India even. Because they were like, well, actually, a lot of the sales for Pakistani authors come from Pakistan, right? So they were a bit uncertain, and then the pandemic was taking place as well, and so they were like, well, maybe we'll do a digital launch and then see about a book launch. So it was a very sort of
uncertain, a lot of uncertainty.
A lot of uncertainty, and perhaps probably the worst possible time to have a debut. But at the same time,
but it worked out really well.
I mean, at the same time, I think it gave me the opportunity to actually attend virtual festivals in India, right? Which would not have been possible or would have been very difficult beforehand. They were,
so they don't mind us meeting us virtually, just not in person.
Well, I mean, in their defense, they did extend the invitation. I was just sort of, not sure how it would work given the current pandemic and everything.
And so, I do understand that obviously publishing in Pakistan comes with certain, like a censorship and certain limitations, and you're kind of, working within a periphery. So, was it frustrating for you as an author to have to edit out some things or edit in some things to be able to kind of be able to be published here?
Yeah, I mean, so yes, to some extent, but also it was also exciting in some ways. Okay. So it was obviously frustrating to have to sort of remove things that I felt quite strongly about, but I also recognize that to a Pakistani audience, a lot of the facts and chapters I removed, they already kind of knew about.
May I ask you a controversial question? Which version you like better?
Well, since I believe most of your readers are obviously based in Pakistan.
Very safe answer. Okay, fine. I'll let that one go.
I'll do the parent thing where they're like, oh, I love all my versions equally.
All my children are equal. We all know that's not true.
Yeah, no, I mean, clearly.
Okay. You had mentioned in an early interview that I had with you, I think during the lockdown, that you were going through some personal challenges when the book was being published. How important do you think is some sort of adversity to bring a sense of gravitas to your writing?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good question, and it's I don't know if at the time as I was going through what it necessarily lent to this book, because at that stage,
in general though.
But there's this I don't know if you've ever read Aldous Huxley's A Brave New World sort of thing, right?
Yes. But as a teenager.
Right, but I'm always reminded of sort of this this idea that if we had a utopian society, the way to keep it sort of this ideal society would actually not have any art or any thing that was creative, right? Because that would upset the balance,
100%.
And art in itself is a response to things not being the way they should be, right? Is talk about sort of something that's out of place, the need to correct something almost, or to comment on it or speak to it. So I do think that adversity or problems are a great sort of source for inspiration or dry strength, or sort of content or material for right. I mean, it's not like the Stanislavski school of method acting or something. I mean, there is perhaps an element of method writing where you're like trying to imagine what this character feels like if I was
really reaching down deep,
like dressing up as the character, being like, ooh, what do I but it's not nearly the same thing. But I think there is an element of trying to some of that sort of the tragedy or difficulty one does encounter can often be a good source for connecting or relating to emotions that you then can try and map onto characters and their experiences. You don't know exactly what it's like for X, Y, to Z to have, to happen to you, but you can sort of extrapolate from something else and sort of imagine
apply it to that. Okay, so speaking of having some sort of gravitas and adversity, and speaking of also your college years where you said that they really expanded your mind, what do you feel, or what are your perceptions about the new generation who are growing up at a time which is, I guess, the neoliberalism, where To Kill a Mockingbird is now being taught with a trigger warning?
I'm not going to come across as a curmudgeon and be like, kids today, they can't even handle To Kill a Mockingbird.
That was really good, by the way.
Right.
That was a good impression.
I think it's easy for me to say, oh, well, I didn't find that triggering.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure certain people would do. Yeah. And I think,
fair enough.
Who am I to sort of say that actually, because it didn't make me feel uncomfortable, I can't handle a small little warning at the beginning of the book for someone else. Having said that, I think a lot of it is sometimes performative. And I think that's where it becomes problematic, right? It's like, oh, I'm I'm raising this issue because I want to be...
And virtue signaling as well. Yeah. There's a lot of that. Well, on that note, should we do some rapid fire?
Sure.
Okay, let's do it. Do you have a hobby?
I thought writing was my hobby, so I was very thrown off.
That's a pretty heavy hobby.
Sketching sometimes, going for walks, you know. I'm trying to sound like artistic.
Yeah, you're sounding very...
It's probably Netflix and like just watching movies that are really bad that I can't admit to on
All right. Interview. Any good movies you watched lately?
No, just bad ones.
Bad ones, okay. Bad ones. So we'll stay clear of that. The best concert you've ever attended?
U2 Pop Mart in Germany in 1997 or 8, I feel like saying. I can't remember the year.
Do you have any fears or phobias?
Heights.
Oh, really? So
you
like,
say like you're so disappointed. Like, I'm like, well, you hoping for some other.
I'm like, so what if you go trekking or like?
No, that's okay.
You know,
but I just like.
You can't look over.
I mean, I can't like stand on the edge. So I can stand from a distance and look.
Okay. But it's not like you can't.
No.
Scale. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not like
it's
incapacitating.
Bizarre. Yeah, because I'll get on roller coasters.
Okay. Oh, you do.
But I will close my eyes.
One of those. Okay, great. Okay. What pop culture trend makes you feel old, or what do you find irritating? Yeah, I'm making you feel old.
Yeah, like a curmudgeon is back. I think
you have to do the voice.
Yeah. Those pesky kids. What I think really irritating is that whenever you go and experience anything, you see anything beautiful. There's a beautiful sunset, and you see the beautiful sunset, and just in front of it, you see a sea of cell phones or a concert or something else. And I understand the appeal because everyone wants to, capture that moment to whatever share later. But but it kind of kills the
energy.
Kills
the
kills
vibe.
The beauty of it.
I agree. Yeah. I do that too. So what can I say?
No.
What is the best advice you've ever gotten?
So I think the best advice I've ever gotten is that don't expect to have more time in the future, and that just. So, do whatever you can now to work towards your dreams tomorrow. Because everyone has that idea that I'll write the book when I have free time, and you will never have more free time. Yeah. Even after retirement, you'll be busy. So
you just got to do it.
Whatever it is, whatever your ambition is, whatever your big life goal is, don't put it off till tomorrow. You don't give up everything necessarily, just like sort of do it, but like work towards it today. I think.
Great advice. What is the single most revelatory realization you've had in life or professionally?
I think maybe this would be from like an article by Clayton Christensen, who's written this article, How to Measure a Life. And he basically talked about how many successful people have very unhappy family lives. So very big CEOs and he said the reason is that when you are very sort of like driven and you're motivated, when we're doing well at work, you get your feedback right away. You do a good presentation and stuff, you get a promotion, you're constantly getting feedback. But with your kids, no one gives you a gold star for, staying up and reading a bedtime story. No one gives you like feedback and says, you're a wonderful mom, like
no one says that,
or no one. It's just, and so you don't get your report card or your thing till 18 years later when they're fully formed adults. And I think that's the way it is with most things in life that actually really matter. Is that you need to be putting aside the time now, and and the time is really what matters, and eventually you'll get the reward. But like not to lose sight of that. Just because you're not getting sort of instant feedback doesn't mean it doesn't matter.
Okay, fair enough. That's great. The one book that you keep going back to?
Sadly, The Verdict. I can't get away from it.
That's fine. No. You love reading your own book. What's wrong with that?
I can't read it anymore. No, it's not good. I just can't read it anymore. So there's a couple. So there would be, I keep going back to Remains of the Day by Katsuo Ishiguro.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Because I'm always in awe of how he shifts the entire world and your perspective on the characters.
Yeah.
You know, and how very little happens, yet so much happens.
Yeah. And any New Year resolutions? New book coming up? Should we be getting excited?
So New Year's resolution is to please finish the book and submit it.
So you are like working on
so I'm working on another book.
That's amazing. Are you going to give us like a teaser or?
Sure, it might be completely different by the time it comes out. But I can, it's about, it's looking at the double lives we lead in Pakistani society. And it's doing this through an adult voice looking back at a summer in Islamabad where he and his friends as teenagers investigate a murder. But it's less about the murder mystery. It's playing with what sort of the tropes of the mystery genre, but it's actually trying to subvert them and flip them on their heads. And it's more about them discovering stuff about themselves and their friends and their families.
Okay, that sounds very, very interesting. Okay, well, on that really thrilling note, Osman, thank you so much for coming and speaking with us.
Thank you for having me. This has been such a pleasure.
Great. Yeah. And for everyone else, thank you for tuning in. Usman's book, The Verdict, is available at the Reverie Publishers online website and at Liberty and all bookstores across Pakistan. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you guys next week.